Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Engineer Whisperer podcast. I am super excited to be here. I am starting season three and I have amazing guests lined up. And today I have my first one. Super excited to welcome you, Chaitali. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me here, Andrea. I'm super happy to be here today.
Yeah, I was looking forward to having you here. And as you audience know, my podcasts are about highlighting the engineers and their stories. So this is what we're gonna do today too. However, we're gonna do something a little bit different. The topic in this season three podcast is about what do engineers do outside of work? What are the fascinating interests that they have, and how do they transition those back in their working career? So before we start, give us a little bit of background about where have you been, who you are, just briefly.
All right. Well, in my professional career, I was at Google for 15 years. Google was the job I took right out of grad school, and I had my entire journey there from internship to directorship. I left Google just a couple of weeks ago at the end of this long 15-year run. When I left, I was director of engineering productivity, so managing developer, infrastructure, analytics, experimentation, a lot of that area for Google Workspace products. This is Docs, Drive, Gmail, Meet, and it was a global organization of 200 plus engineers and program managers. So it was a great run from all the way from internship to directorship. I am on a break right now, and if you do follow me on LinkedIn, we'll talk about it at the end of the episode. You will find out where I'm going next. Till then, really taking the time to relax, connect with family, and be here on the podcast.
Yeah, do fun things like this. So thank you for that. Um, I'm sure that people have a lot of questions regarding how does one go from internship to director level. But we'll put that aside because today is really about you. Because you are a fascinating human being, not just an engineer and an engineering leader. So tell us what fascinates you outside of work.
Absolutely. So, there are many different aspects of my non-work life that I actually bring into work in many surprising ways. One of the things I do outside of work, which I think got Andrea and me talking, was that I volunteer every Sunday morning to teach Hindi. Hindi is the language we speak at home, to a bunch of elementary schoolers. This is a nonprofit organization here locally that teaches Indian culture and Indian languages, and Hindi is one of them. So I am a volunteer teacher there. So I have a classroom full of 9-year-olds who don't want to be there on their Sunday morning and would much rather be doing something more fun maybe. But I have to make it fun and exciting for them and really teach them the language that I grew up with that, I would like to also pass on a legacy in some way. So that is the thing I do outside of work.
So tell me, how did you how did you get invited to do that? Because
All
that's not
right.
something that I know from my experience. I have taught in our local Hungarian school too, that I was invited. It's not something that I jumped in. So how did you find out about this passion of yours?
I think it was more like I invited myself. So, one of the many other personalities I have is I'm a mom and I have a 9-year-old. We have been trying to impart our culture. It's very different being a first generation immigrant
Yes.
family and having to balance different cultures and how do you pass that on to your kids, right? So, we have been trying to give that to our daughter since she was born, since very early age. And we felt like she was ready for a more formal learning experience. And this felt like a good balance. So, this organization was like, well, if you're sending your child, to the organization, we would love to have some volunteer time from the parents. And actually, you could pick a variety of things to do as a volunteer, everything from, tech support, which was my first thought as an engineer, to so many other things. But then the teaching gig caught my attention because there are a lot of transferable skills from there to being an engineer. So I think I have many fascinating thoughts and stories around, how the classroom and my workplace are very similar.
Oh, please tell us one.
Absolutely. So that's how I got roped into that gig. I think the first thing that really struck me as something similar is holding attention.
Mhm.
If you can hold attention for a bunch of 8, 9 year olds who really would want to be anywhere else other than your classroom on that Sunday morning, you can do that very easily for a group of grown-ups in a meeting you're leading or in a summit or presentation you're doing, right? And a lot of my work at work is a lot of these kind of gatherings. It's either, some meetings about projects, maybe it is larger meetings like all teams. Maybe it is some presentations and exec reviews. And in all of them, the skill of holding attention is very useful. And, some of the things I learned is like, take a sudden pause. And then all of the kids are like looking at you after, you take a long enough pause, like, what happened? Why is it so quiet?
Yes.
It actually works really well, even in a work meeting. When you take a sudden pause, see what happens next time.
Yes, yes, in a very busy room, and especially if you're the speaker and the leader, sudden stops are very interesting.
Yep. And even on virtual calls, like a lot of meetings are now hybrid or fully virtual. And, if people feel like maybe it may not work on a video call, but it does. I can tell you it does from experience.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, tell us more about your journey. So, teaching. So, how did you discover um, your strength and your talents while you were with a 9-year-old?
Yeah, I think the other part of this journey that I discovered as a strength, and then again transfers well to the work side, is how you teach the content, right? I had a transition at Google from being an individual contributor to being a people manager, and even as an IC tech lead, uh, I had to do a lot of teaching. It was not a formal teaching like in a classroom setting, but certainly ramping up more junior engineers, or maybe someone new transferred to your team, or you've made a new hire and you have to ramp them up. It comes in many shapes and forms, but there is an element of teaching in all of our professional lives. And I think that was the other skill that really this experience helped me build up, where I had to first master the content myself. I had to get comfortable with it, but I also had to get other people ramped up and comfortable with it. And
Yes.
the success didn't stop at me being the best at it. The success was really someone else being the best at it. I think that's the theme of my work career as well.
Oh, I love that transition and all those steps in that process.
Yeah.
Because I think, and from experience working with young engineers who are just starting out, they don't think that, oh, I'm an engineer. I won't need the teaching skills. But
Right.
just like as you're saying, if you're going to progress up in your career, um, there's going to be teaching, there's going to be knowledge transfer.
Yep.
And as a leader, you're going to learn how to take these steps. I love how you shared them with us. So what were some of the challenges that you have found while teaching Sunday school?
I think So the attention one was definitely one of the challenges. The content itself was another in terms of, how to pick it appropriately, how to set it up such that it is a slow build up and progression, and you're not giving like too much all at once and expecting people to, really pick up something very difficult. Um, Other challenges also, this is the third learning here, has been handling logistics. So, this organization that I work with, we're all volunteers, and it is a few hours on Sunday, so it is not, something that is there throughout. In many of your workplaces, probably a lot of these problems are abstracted away from you, especially, if you are not a manager, or even if you are, maybe, your workplace services take care of things. But I found that that again helped me with that higher level of where my career is going, in the sense of dealing with surprising problems. Like one of the days we show up on Sunday morning and we find the classroom's locked. And what do we do? Who do we contact? And how's this class gonna happen? Another day we show up and we find like the light switches don't work. And so finding that, and you still have to be calm, right? It's a crisis that you're dealing with, and it's very similar to like, you might have a production incident or something, but
Yes.
being calm, finding out, what to do in that situation, and also keeping others calm. You don't want to panic because then your 9-year-old students will panic and
Yes.
everyone's going to be upset. So that is another skill that I learned, that sometimes surprising things could happen. You take it in your stride, and you solve for the problem, while also making sure that your group is together. If you are, as you grow in your career in any leadership position, all of these are again valuable transferable skills that you want to have for difficult situations and dealing with them, which you'll get many of, whether it is a production outage or a locked classroom, it's the same.
Yes, yes. I love that parallel and the wisdom that you shared about it's not just about keeping myself calm while I'm solving the problem of unlocking the classroom or turning the lights on. It's also keeping others calm and informed on what's going on
Oh yes,
and
the informed bit is very important. Like if you're silent and you're doing something, everyone else is still gonna be like, "What's happening?" So
yes, yeah. So it's not enough to just stay calm. Have to communicate of what you're thinking in a calmly way, and maybe involve some people, ask
yeah,
for help, uh, a parent or two or other volunteers, depending on the problem at hand. So
yeah,
I love that part too. And then how it all happens at this I want to say micro level. It's we're talking about Sunday school with kids, but then it can be elevated into this macro level is talking about career, professional, personal, and then life. So,
yeah. It gives you skills that apply to many areas of your life. So.
so I'm curious, Chaitali, what was something that maybe something new that you learned about yourself as you were volunteering at the school?
Absolutely. I think, one thing I've discovered about myself through my years at work that I didn't know before volunteering was that achievements and rewards definitely matter to me. Even when, I'm horrible at exercising regularly, and I do best when there's a reward that I promise myself. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, if I exercise like 5 days in a row, I'm gonna buy myself this new workout clothes or something that I can look forward to
Yes.
and really stack as a habit. That to me is very important. So when I went into this first, I was like, I am going to do this because I guess I have to for my daughter, to role model for her, but I didn't feel like there would be any reward for me. And that is where I went in with that mindset. Something I discovered along the way was there is a reward in this journey for you as well, for you as the teacher. which is the satisfaction of seeing someone you have helped grow. And when I reflected back at my work journey, a lot of people, before this volunteering experience used to ask me, why did you become a people manager? And why did you stay as a people manager
Yes.
after you became one? Because isn't it a lot of headaches? And can you not do better? As in, I see you can grow, without bounds in some ways, because you're responsible only for yourself. And I didn't have a good answer until I took this volunteering journey. Um, Now, my answer is that there is a reward, and that is the satisfaction of watching so many others do well. And grow, and you can see the progression because I know where my students were when you start the year, they don't know this whole bunch of materials, and then at the end of the year they're able to read and write and speak, and it's wonderful to see that change. It's the same is true at work as well. You'll have colleagues, you'll have coworkers, maybe your reports who start out at a certain level, and then you see their growth
Yes.
and change. But you have to let them learn. You have to let them fail, and you have to, let them have that safe environment. So that to me was learning about myself, and now I have an answer for why I enjoy, the management aspect of my job.
And I'm curious, did you find a way to reward yourself along the way, um, through teaching? And what was it?
I think so. I think, I discovered that it didn't have to be material rewards, although I wouldn't say no to the occasional ice creams. But I think it was the satisfaction of seeing like more than half of my classes getting great grades, because we do have like quizzes and midterms and all of those things here as well, just to see progress. And it was great to see those milestones happening, and I think that was the reward by itself.
Hmm. I'm curious, did you
Mhm.
get any hugs from kids?
Oh,
Anything?
yes. Oh, absolutely.
That's what I would call a reward then as well.
The hugs were one of them. Actually, the other reward was also like we talked about attention at the beginning.
Yes.
Their attention, like sometimes they would be so involved in a class and everyone's raising their hands to answer, and like I'm gonna have to choose between 20 hand raises. That's my reward.
I love it. I love it. And no, this is a great reminder that these are all rewards too. These are all the gifts that other give us. It's not something that, yeah, you can put in a box and bundle up and package up. Nonetheless, they're amazing gifts that turn into amazing memories that come with amazing feelings
Yep,
that I talk about all the time. Life is about these memories worth remembering and living for.
yep,
So I'm so happy that you got the hugs because I got
yep.
the hugs too, and those are the best. And then you got more. Uh, let's see. So we talked about the things that you have discovered. Now, if you would name some of the strengths that you have practiced, discovered, and then practiced while you were teaching, what would you say those were for you?
Sure. I think one of the strengths was really, getting people focused on the topic at hand. And again, this was a strength that I didn't know I had as much as I did. It really pushed me to implement a lot of these techniques for kids. They're honest and they'll really go for, giving you their opinions, right? If it's boring, they'll be like, I don't like this. This is boring. And so I think looking back, I had elements of the strength in various work settings when I had led like design reviews or, project meetings and so on. And I got that in the classroom as well. Here's one more tip that really plays on this trend. So I discovered, so it was about, the lesson, each lesson was like 45 minutes long. And initially, I was all prepared to talk for 45 minutes and, I use these pauses and all these techniques. But my focus was, I'm going to have to talk for 45 minutes, right? Then I realized very quickly that I have to build it such that there is interactivity. I can't be the one talking for 45 minutes. I'm going to have to pull in the students to do some talking. So, asking questions. That was one of my strengths before. It was really amplified here to ask questions, to get them to give answers and responses. Again, it's really great in the workplace. You talking to someone versus you giving all the information and knowledge. Try it if you're a mentor, if you're a lead, even if you are just working with a coworker. Asking questions is going to get you more involvement from the other person than just giving out a lot of information or responses. Another one was the interactivity part was movement. I realized these are very squirmy elementary kids, right? They're not going to sit still at all. And I had to figure out, like, build into my teaching, how do I make them, stand up, move around? And I started bringing that at work as well, even more than before. Like I would do small things before, like these hand gestures or eye contact. But since volunteering, I started, having more interactive meetings. Like maybe 15 minutes in, I would say, well, let's split up into breakouts and, two or three people discuss the issue at hand and brainstorm, or we'll take quiet time for everyone to write down your thoughts. In the classroom, I would make everyone stand up periodically and be like, all right, everyone put your hands up in the air, or hop on one leg and let's try to answer these questions. So, those kind of things, I feel my strength that was having these right connections of finding out what a group needs were very much tested and amplified from this experience. And I think it also amplified them on the work front.
Hmm. You know what else I would add that I'm
Yeah,
hearing is playfulness.
absolutely. Yes.
That
You got to bring your whole energy and whole self there.
yes, yes. I mean, that's one of the things that strike me when I first met you is your smile. It's contagious. So I can just imagine that if you bring this energy that's behind that smile, that the kids will get the energy. But now that they have the energy, how do you not control the energy, but how do you flow the energy so that there's learning and curiosity and engagement, as you said? So I love it. Well, meanwhile, I thought of one curious question as you were talking is because what I'm hearing is really volunteering has been a great almost like a test environment for you to test out your strengths and these ideas. So, how did you gain the courage to test these out? Because somebody would say, well, I mean, you get the feedback right away from these
Yeah.
kids, and it's honest and it's harsh and it's right
Brutal.
there. And it's yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, if it's boring, it's boring. If it's not boring, so they tell us.
Yeah.
So, how did you bring still the courage to try these and then to try something? So a little bit around how did you have the courage to fail yourself before asking others to
I
fail?
love that question. I really love it because this is something I learned from my students, from the kids. As brutal and honest as they are with their feedback, they're also quick to forgive and move on.
Oh.
They That creates that safe to fail environment. If I made a mistake in teaching, or if I tried out something and it fell flat in the classroom, they would quickly tell me, I don't like this, or this is terrible, or you made a mistake, Chaitali ma'am. But they would also move on from there very fast. That is something, unfortunately, I can't say all of our workplaces bring, as to the degree that they should. And I really always, this is a question I ponder even now, how to create that environment at work. How can you create it such that it is everyone feels safe to fail, and you can be a supportive teammate, and that you learn the lessons that have to be learned, but you don't get penalized beyond that. It's not recalled like 3 months after, 6 months after, oh, you made that mistake, because that builds up the
Yes.
fear of
Yes.
that
Yes.
I'm not going to be forgiven for the mistake. It's going to be counted against me. If not today, then in my performance review. If not this performance review, then in my promotion review 3 months, 3 years later. Uh,
Yes.
and that is a fear that holds a lot of us back. I think some of this is systemic. The workplace does need to change, and how we look at these processes needs to change. But to me, what I could look at for myself was this is the element of why I felt more comfortable trying out new things in the classroom, because I knew that the failure may be there, but it's going to be in the moment. It'll be
Yes.
there. They'll be very unhappy. They'll tell me why, but we'll move on. And in the next classroom, we'll start fresh.
You know, I think the aha moment that came to me is I love how you coupled the honest feedback with very quick move on, very quick forgiveness. I mean,
Yep.
that is something that we all can do, the individual contributors, engineers, and then the leaders as well, is to just like the kids, to tell someone, and I practice it with my own kids, is to tell them, use the words, I forgive you. You made a mistake. I forgive you. Let's move on.
Yep.
So that they know that I have moved on, and I can only be responsible for myself and for my own feelings. But these words, I think there are bridges that we extend to others to then make a choice so that they can move on, so that together we can move on, and then together can be courageous and try new things. So thank
You
you.
mentioned one part of it, which is I do want to call out, is the feedback aspect. If you're in most engineering organizations have some sort of a peer review process where, either a few months, annually, you're giving a review to someone else. One of the things I practiced at work that, again, was amplified with this volunteering experience, and the kids taught me, was give the feedback to the person directly and in the moment. This is radical candor, right? If
Yes.
you don't feel comfortable telling this person directly, then you don't want to write it behind their back in their review, and then they find out, a few months later in a written HR process form. That's just not something that they'll absorb. They're more likely to absorb and take the feedback and act on it if you give them in the moment directly. When I teach, it is very instantaneous, it's direct, and I can correct for it. Versus if the students held it back and told me 6 months later, that class you had 6 months ago, that one thing, I'd be like, why didn't you tell me at that time? So that is another aspect I learned, to really lean in to give the feedback on time and very directly. And it might feel uncomfortable, but to you as the feedback giver, but it's super useful to the other person. If taken
Yes.
in the right spirit, like you both can grow.
Yes, yes. I mean, we talk so much in the workplace about progress and productivity. But as you said, if someone gives you a feedback 6 months later, and now let's go back to the teaching, your kids wouldn't have learned as much unless you correct your path and your teaching
Right.
method and how uh, then and in the moment, that day or, latest the next Sunday, by next Sunday. Yeah, otherwise they would have not been where they are right now. And I think we sometimes, as leaders, we forget that aspect, that these small things are really create huge impact on others. So it's the bridge our own transition as of uncomfortable feeling of I have to give you honest feedback right now, but then think about how much progress and courage we create in someone else or start creating in them
Yep.
as we build a relationship. Well, I loved this conversation. Thank you very much for being here. And if our listeners want to connect with you, tell us how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. Well, you're welcome to follow me on LinkedIn to reach out. I would love to connect there and know what you think about this episode or just any other topics we can geek out together. I would also love to invite everyone to read and follow my Substack. That's where I share a lot of these random life thoughts and how they connect to work. So if this episode resonates with you, then maybe you'll enjoy my writing as well.
And we're going to have all those links in the episode notes. So, again, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Chaitali, it was a pleasure having you here. And I'm thinking maybe we're going to have you back because you have so much more to share. But this was
Absolutely. Thank you
a
so much.
great opportunity. But before we leave, what would you want the audience to take away from today's discussion? Close us out.
I think the one takeaway I would give everyone is you won't find yourself and know yourself if you just stay within your comfort zone and in your workplace environment. A lot of times that might be our comfort zone. So really, to push yourself out of that zone, go find those experiences outside of work where you find something you're passionate about that you want to learn and just like I did with this teaching volunteering, maybe you'll find an experience that pushes you and improves some skills that you bring back to work. So I would really encourage folks to go look for those experiences.
Well, on that note, thank you very much for sharing your stories, your experiences, and the fascinating journey that you are on. Thank you very much for being here.
You.